Hi, I'm Katie from What Katie Did, and today I'm going to address me as the owner of What Katie Did being problematic. I've been thinking about doing a video like this for a couple of years now, and it's been prompted by a video that's recently gone up with saying certain things about What Katie Did and myself in particular. And it's difficult because I've spoken to people in the office and they're like, keep your mouth shut, and I probably should, but it is frustrating, and I just wanted to address everything I said, or I might have said, or I might not have said, and have it here. So, in future, if anything else comes up, at least I can say, well, there's a video here, and I've spoken about it, and I've apologised, and I've addressed it. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but I'm going to dive in and tell you about it. The video that went live recently, it was I'm not going to give you the name of the video, you can Google it or whatever, but it's basically the person said, one of the really common things that the owner does is talk about anti-feminism. In addition, the person who presents the video, they also got a Facebook group about brand accountability and problematic brands, and there's a spreadsheet on there which she links to in the video. And it also says on the spreadsheet about What Katie Did that I've said about all lives matter, I'm anti-feminist, I'm racist, I'm homophobic and anti-sex work. So I'm afraid this video is not going to be the most interesting. There's very, very little sensationalism about it, so don't get too excited, but I feel that I need to go down and address exactly what was said and what wasn't said, so you know what actually happened and you know the truth behind everything. So first up, we have the anti-feminist issue, and the commentator says really common things that the owner does is talk about anti-feminism. She pointed out how we don't need a feminist revolution, or she posted about how we don't need a feminist revolution, about how we don't need International Women's Day and things like that. And this actually dates back to 2016, and I was on Twitter in 2016 on International Women's Day, and what I was seeing on there was, it was very light-hearted. It was, this was pre-Trump. This was a pre-Trump era, and people were posting pictures of their boobs. They were posting pictures of cupcakes. A really highly renowned magazine had a feature about International Women's Day, hashtag, do your hair like a boss, and I felt it was really demeaning. I got really angry. I was really upset. And I posted, let me find the quote. I posted, inspiring women, yes, but do we actually need International Women's Day? At What Katie Did, we're too busy getting on with it. And this opened a huge can of worms, and I have apologised for it. It was a really stupid thing to do. As I say, I was upset and angry, and that doesn't excuse it. I should have just calmed down and thought about it, but I didn't, and it's done and dusted. As you know, on social media, it is, anything you post is there forever, and I can show you the screenshot because the website did screen grab it and put it up and made a feature about it. So what I actually meant was, I found it offensive that women were using the opportunity of International Women's Day to post such frivolous things. And I was born in 1971, which is the year that the Equal Wage Act came in the UK, where men and women were supposed to be paid the same. And 45 years later, that's still not the case. And things like when women post pictures of their boobs on International Women's Day, it's like, women around the world, you can get killed for that. It's like, it was such frivolous stuff being posted. I felt that the opportunity of having, well, first of all, I was offended that was an actual day, because feminism to me is a fight every day. As I say, I was born in '71 when the Pay Act came in. I grew up. My mum was is a feminist. She worked a lot with women. She was a midwife, and being vegetarian in the early '80s, basically, she was telling me that she'd have women coming out of after seeing the male doctor, and the male doctor basically told them if they didn't eat meat, then their baby would be harmed or would die, and she had to sit down and talk to them and talk some sense into them. So she was very, very pro women and very hands on, but also very, very down to earth, and was getting on with it, which is that term's going to come back to haunt me. I had a group of friends, and we were feminists. We were reading a lot of feminist literature. I can remember when The Handmaid's Tale came out, by Margaret Atwood, the TV series, and I couldn't believe that people hadn't read the book, because obviously I was around when the book firstly came out, but it's like, that is a rite of passage to me, is you read all the feminist literature out there, you read as much as you possibly can and learn as much as you can. And I guess that's what I found upsetting, that is because I do so much research about women behind the scenes, and that the platform was being used for, how to do your hair but like a boss, how to get a handbag, and all this stuff. And the other thing with what Katie did is, I am very, very careful about hashtagging and jumping on the bandwagon, and I don't like to hashtag like International Women's Day on the back of what Katie did, on the back of selling stuff. So I know it looks like at that point I wasn't supporting things, but that's because I didn't want to sell stuff on the back of a more important cause, as it were. I saw it as a bit distasteful. So yeah, that was tricky. That was to do with International Women's Day. I am a feminist. Feminism is extremely important to me. It's a daily battle, and I am frustrated that nearly 50 years on, after the Equal Pay Act came in, it's still an issue. So yeah, I shouldn't have said it. I certainly wouldn't say it now. If you are wondering why what Katie did doesn't actually get involved in International Women's Day, this hopefully explains why. We can't, because someone will say, 10 years ago you said this and now you've changed your mind. So we tend to keep quiet about International Women's Day. We have a chart in our office, and there's a big blackout for International Women's Day. So the second one we have is All Lives Matter, and this ties into International Women's Day on the same Twitter feed. And I can't actually find a screen grab of this, but from what I remember, I did actually not say it, but I commented on it. And on this thread, which was saying about International Women's Day and all the backlash, and there was an awful lot of backlash. And I did apologise. I tried to fix it. Obviously, it wasn't fixable, because if you've ever been involved in a Twitter spat, it's not fixable. And someone did post that next you'll be saying All Lives Matter, and I put, of course, All Lives Matter, which was, again, extremely problematic. Again, it's 5 years ago now. It was before the Black Lives Matter went mainstream, and obviously I have educated myself now. It's something I'd never say, but again, it was something in the heat of the moment that I shouldn't have done, but I did it, and there's nothing I can do about that now, apart from apologise. And certainly it's not something I believe in, and I certainly won't do it again. And this moves on to racism, and I guess racism also ties in with the International Women's Day and me saying All Lives Matter, because that's all there is. There isn't anything else. I mean, you can Google to your heart's content. Everything you say is on there, is on the internet, and there is nothing about racism. People think with vintage brands that we're a lot bigger than we are, and we are a tiny, tiny little brand. I think there's 12 of us in total, and that's two to three in LA. We have 2 in London, and the rest in our head office. And when it comes to the photo shoots we do for our magazines and our website, yes, we do choose the models together, but it is me who says we need to have a person of colour on the cover of the magazine. We need to, our Instagram feed's looking too white. We need to make sure, everyone's presented, and it needs to be. It's getting to the case now where it's done without actually thinking about it, which is way what it should be. It should be this is a good picture. We just need to put it up. But it did take a few years for us to get this far. I can remember when we had a woman called Wiggy. If you know our social media, you'll probably remember Wiggy. And we did a magazine a few years ago, and it went to print. And then she said, "It's very white." She said, "It's blonde." Basically, the whole magazine. We didn't have a woman of colour in the magazine, and that was a big, huge issue. The fact that it's totally gone above our heads. So now, basically, everything is thought about. It's not a coincidence the amount of women colour we have represented on our website and on our social media and in our magazines. It doesn't happen by chance. We're in the UK. We shoot most of our content in the UK. And when it comes to the retro, the vintage and the fetish scenes in the UK, although they are changing, they still are predominantly white. And I have commented about this in another video about when we had the Black Lives Matter movement in the summer of 2020, that some British brands didn't have a lot of women of colour on their websites or on their social media. And I did mention that, so you can Google that. But the reason we do is really, it comes down to us opening in Los Angeles, because when we opened in Los Angeles, we were on the whole vintage and retro scene. There is a lot more mixed, and the fetish scene too. And that's when we really realised we needed to diversify with our product imagery, and again with our stockings, we'd introduced our nutmeg stockings. We'd already done a coffee colour, and again I have done a video about making stockings for women of colour, which again I'll link to below. So to be called racist is pretty tough, because again it's something I'm hyper aware of, and is something I feel it's really important. Obviously, where we're all going with this is we need it to be not thought of at all, that it just be automatic. But at the moment we are thinking about, yes, we need to make sure that we have different skin tones. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this really, but really it is a conscious decision about how many women of colour and to make sure everyone's covered. So to be called racist is quite hurtful. So the next one is that I'm homophobic, and really I have no idea where this comes from. It is totally ridiculous, but the only place I can think this comes from is that we've got a private face group for what Katie did. What's it called, Rich? What Katie did? Yeah, what Katie did social group. Sorry, my mind went a blank. And in December 2019, we had a woman join the social group and say that she wasn't happy posting in a mixed social group, because we allow people of all genders in our social group. And was there a single sex lingerie group she could join? And yes, there are. I got called out on this because I said we allow people of all sexes in the group, and I shouldn't have said that. I should have said all genders, which is what I do now. And I apologise for not using the word genders. It is a learning curve. I'm sure you're aware that things are changing so quickly, and you get used to using one term and it goes out of date, and it is a constant learning term. And we are all of us are learning, and it's really exciting that things are moving so quickly, but obviously it's really easy to get out of date. So with our social group, we welcome people of all genders because we have a customer base of all genders. And one of the things that someone posted on this thread, which I didn't save, I don't have screenshots of this unfortunately, but I'm sure other people do, was that we were favouring men over women, and that's not the case. We're not just online. We have 2 stores and we do shows as well. And I spend time on the shop floor in London and LA with the shows. We've been doing shows for over 20 years now, and I've missed a couple of Dapper Days in LA. I've missed one erotica in the UK because I was giving birth, and I've missed one military show in the UK. But apart from that, I've been at every single show we've done. And so I see our customers, and our customers are nice people regardless of their gender. And basically looking at our stats on the website, about 30% of our customers are male. But I was talking to a marketing guy a few years ago, and he was like, right, you should go for the gifting market. And how are you approaching these men for the gifting market? And they're not buying they might be buying as a gift, they might be buying for themselves. There is a whole gender fluidity. And what do we class as male and female for a lingerie group? I mean, again, it's a point of privilege, as you might not be able to afford to transition. You might not want to transition. I'm looking at Eddie Izzard, who's in the news at the moment, and she's now saying that she always said she just used to like wearing skirts and shoes and, women's clothing, which is fine. But she went through 30 years being in the public eye before actually saying, I want to be addressed as she or her. And so you can imagine for other people who aren't in that privileged position that, there is just so much work to be done. And of course, some people just like wearing certain clothes because they like wearing certain clothes. So we do keep a very close eye on our social group. One of the comments was, well, at least they're monitoring who joins. The truth of the matter is that I monitor who joins. 90% of people who join is me clicking the button. My husband does a very few. We've got Christian in LA who does a very few. But what I do is when someone applies to join, you can see the other groups they're in. And generally, if it's a woman, they're already in a group I'm already a part of. So they're okay. For a man, yeah, I do put them through the ringer. I go into their accounts, I see what they're posting, I see what groups they're part of, I see who their friends are. I'm sorry if you're a guy that you feel disturbed by this, but I want to keep everyone safe, and within the group as well. Men are not given a hard time, but we don't tolerate. I can't remember the term now, but yeah, we are. They're given a hard time. We don't tolerate any nonsense at all. So, and generally it's okay, and it is okay, and everyone's friendly. But I think it's important. I think excluding one gender is not the solution. I think we all need to work together on this, and that's why we allow people of all genders. And of course, with what Katie did, it's not skimpy lingerie. It's not sexually provocative or anything. So, it's not something that people you'd feel uncomfortable showing or not showing. And it's not really a show and tell website. Some people post pictures of themselves in a corset because they want people to see them, but a lot of it is just chat about vintage stuff and designs and life, and that's the way it is. So really, that is the only thing that would suggest I was possibly homophobic. That is the only thing I can possibly think of. Okay, so finally we go on to anti-sex work, and this goes back to 2017. 2017, I've currently got, well, my daughter is currently 16, and 2017 she was 13, and her and her friends were just getting on social media, and at the same time as this, on Twitter, we were getting a lot of people atting our brand, which was basically hardcore porn, and it wasn't porn companies, it was really nasty stuff. It was men, and I hate to generalize, but it's basically men, Middle Eastern men, who were posting stuff to spread the word and using our tag, because obviously we're involved in stockings and everything, which is problematic, and trying to spread their stuff through our platform. The problem I had with this is that the stuff they were sharing, I don't have a problem with porn. I have a problem with the way women are presented in porn, and they were being presented in a derogatory way. And I'm not talking about BDSM or fetish or anything like that, because that is actually my background pre what Katie did. It was just really nasty. And as an aside, this was pre OnlyFans and everything, so the women weren't getting paid. It was basically sharing free content, which also left a nasty taste in my mouth. It was an awful lot, and yesterday I actually did go through Twitter, and I was going to screen grab and block stuff out and try and show you, and it was nasty. I just couldn't do it. So yeah, my daughter being 13 and her friends were starting to follow us on social media. I didn't want her seeing it. We have also the people who work for us. We generally only have one person look at social media at the time, and I didn't want them getting into work and being confronted with all this crap first thing in the morning. It's not just women, of course. I can remember talking to the artist Vince Ray, and he was like, he went to a sex trade show in Germany, and this was like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and I can remember him saying to me, you know, he'd arrive with his cup of coffee first thing in the morning, and the screens would be showing hardcore porn, and he's saying, it's too early, I just want a cup of coffee first. And that's the way it is. It just is. It was pretty hardcore, and it wasn't nice. So I mean, I keep an eye on it, and that phase is all over now. But of course, because I was blocking all these people, my first response was to block. I didn't want my daughter seeing it. I didn't want my daughter's friends seeing it. I didn't want the people who work for us seeing it, because that's not part of their job. They don't. So we just had to change the battery on the camera, and for a while I used to wake up and my first job would be to go through Twitter and block, and before anyone arrived at work, because I didn't want them to have to deal with it, and I didn't want my daughter to see it, I didn't want my daughter's friends to see it, so you know, I just went through it and blocked it all. And of course, in the mix there were a couple of women as well posting content, and I was left with the quandary of, if they're a man, I block them, but because they're a woman, do I block them or not? And it turns out I blocked 3 or 4 women as well. One of them did actually contact us, and Wiggy explained, and she said, yeah, I understand. The other 3, I guess the fact that we're called anti-sex work is, I must have blocked one of them, and because they were blocked, they now think that I'm anti-sex work. I'm not anti-sex work. If you look at Twitter, I'm the one who retweets. I mean, that's again, people think we're a big company. We're not. I retweet. I don't retweet if it's hardcore porn. I retweet a lot if women have got OnlyFans. I retweet pro doms. You can have a look. You can look back even before 2017. If you go, I mean, you've got all the history there. You can see the content I'm retweeting. When I started What Katie Did, I used to work in the fetish industry, so I am friends with a lot of pro-doms. When we first started doing magazines and catalogues, I don't have any to hand. I did look yesterday and I couldn't find the earliest ones. But if anyone has them at home, yeah, the clue, if the model is called Maitresse or Empress, that gives you a clue as to what she does for a living. When that was, right at the very beginning, then we went on to pay sites, and the idea with What Katie Did is that we had people come to the website, they'd either be looking to buy lingerie or they'd be looking for pictures of women in lingerie. So I made a big deal about making sure there is information about every model on the site and links to their pay site, because if they're not interested in buying lingerie from us, they'll be interested in subscribing to the woman who's wearing the lingerie. So that is something we've always done. If you look at our social media, we always tag the model, and again, that is because they'll either find more modelling work from us, or they might, work in another industry or the sex industry, and get work that way. So it's very, again, this doesn't happen by chance. This is me saying we have to tag everyone. We need to promote everyone. As I said, if they're not looking for pictures of, if they're not looking to buy lingerie, they're looking for women in pictures of lingerie or whatever, or it might be men, it might be anything, but it's to make sure we spread the word and we get it out there, because it's just helping to make the world go round. But yeah, it's very, very tough. And yeah, I should mention there was another incident where we had a member of our team in LA who, for our magazine, I'd been saying for a couple of months that I needed content for the magazine, and they agreed to do this article, and I kept on saying, have you done it, have you done it, have you done it? And they hadn't done it, and eventually we had to go to print. The magazine was printed. I arrive in LA and they say to me, oh, so-and-so's agreed to do the cover of the magazine. And I was like, what? And I said, we don't need another sex worker on the cover of the magazine. And I said it like that in an offhand way. Again, just like my Twitter spat, I was angry, I was upset. I couldn't believe that they had offered someone the cover of the magazine without actually discussing it. When I say the cover of the magazine, it's only a little thing, but even so, you don't, when I've been trying to get content out for so long and I didn't have anything, plus of course we like to mix up who we have in our magazine, and we'd recently covered another person who works in the sex industry. We can't, it's a lot of thought goes into this. It's not by chance, and I was just frustrated that I've been trying to get content for so long, and then it turns out that this person had totally flipped it on its head and gone totally in her own direction, and I was just annoyed. And again, it was an offhand remark that I shouldn't have made, but I did, and of course it's come back to haunt me. So to sum everything up, I'm not anti-sex work. I've never been anti-sex work. I'm certainly not homophobic. Racism is always tricky because of the privileges you have in your life. I continually learn, I continually educate myself as well as I can. Same with feminists. I'm an ardent feminist. It may not seem like that because I can make flipping remarks, but believe me, I take it extremely seriously. And that's basically everything. I'm sorry if it wasn't as sensational as you would have liked, that it might be a bit boring, that it's certainly longer than I would have liked, but I felt it was important to have the backgrounds here. So if you do have any questions about me in particular, please get in touch, and take care, and I'll catch up with you soon.